The accountant follows a man with a highly functioning form of autism, working as a freelance accountant, who uses his skills in mathematics to work for some of the world's most dangerous criminal organizations. Anna Kendrick plays an in-house accountant who discovers a discrepancy involving millions of dollars at the corporation where Ben Affleck's character receives a new assignment. Meanwhile, he is being pursued by J.K. Simmons' character, who is the director of the Treasury Department's crime division, and Cynthia Addai-Robinson's character, who is a young data analyst, who J.K. Simmons blackmails into helping him identify and arrest this mysterious accountant. John Lithgow also shows up as the company's CEO, Jeffrey Tambor as a former accountant and informant for the US government, and John Bernthal bringing his usual badassery of badassness, being the biggest badass in the history of badasses. Now, if I was on the other side of that screen, hearing about this film for the first time, judging by that plot synopsis alone, I would probably have already decided that I wouldn't be interested in this film, first and foremost because it is about financial matters, something I don't know and don't understand anything about, and second, I would probably think that this is more of a thinking man's film. I would probably think that this is something much more complex. It's more complex than it is an emotionally intriguing or thrilling film. But of course the poster would already let me know that I'm in for something much more than that, because this also happens to be a pretty violent action film. So yippee! But that doesn't change the fact that I really didn't enjoy this film all that much, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a mixed bag for me. I think it swings more towards the rotten side of the pendulum, to be honest with you. And one of the main reasons for that being is with such an excellent ensemble cast, I mean, these are all great actors I really like, I would have preferred a film in which I would have felt that all of the characters feel like an equally important part of the story. Now, I'm not saying that any character here isn't essential in the sense that they can totally and completely be cut out of the film and it wouldn't change a thing. No, all of them have their purpose, but their purpose is more to serve and to flesh out the one truly main character's story, the one truly layered character story, by either dragging him along or pushing him into situations or giving insight into his background and backstory. But trust me, this is Ben Affleck's story and his story alone. This in certain instances really bugged me because I felt that it threw off the pacing significantly during certain parts, and it was one of the reasons why I felt that the film didn't completely gel together as a cohesive whole. It felt more like several movies being melted together into one. For example, during the parts in the film in which we see a young Ben as a kid with his brother receiving extensive training in combat skills like martial arts and sharpshooting arranged by their very strict father, of course this explains why Ben is such a badass, such a killing machine in the film, but to me it felt like this montage sequence that's being spread out all across the film. It really reminded me of Batman Begins. It's just this long exposition showing us how this character got to be what he is, and I don't know, it really didn't seem all that interesting to me. I would have preferred a little bit more mystique, to be honest. The scene in which Cynthia Addai-Robinson's character is listening to a sound recording made during a shootout incident in which they think that the accountant was involved in. Of course, she listens to this sound recording over and over and over again. She isolates different parts, she puts different effects on it and blah blah blah, trying to find some clues, trying to find some sounds that might give away some information. This really reminded me, for example, of The Conversation, but not in a good way. I mean, it was distracting. It was distracting the way it reminded me of another film which is much better than this one. And during the very last act, in which we have all the fighting and all the shooting and all the action and all that stuff, of course that really reminded me of John Wick, and I would say in a good way, because the action in here is pretty serviceable. It's alright. The only problem was that by the time we get to it, I'm so uninvested and I'm so uninterested in what's happening in the film that it really couldn't win me over by that point. The resolution to the subplot involving J.K. Simmons and Cynthia Addai-Robinson's characters is quite expository, to say the least. It feels like that's the only reason these two characters are in the film. Like, J.K. Simmons is basically, I think during the end of the second act and the beginning of the third act, something like that, he reveals his connection to Ben Affleck's character. He reveals why it is why this task was so important. He basically explains the very first scene in the film in which we see something happening, but we can't really make out what or who's doing it. So it really felt by this point that the film grinded to a halt so many times already, because the structure is so weird to me, because we continuously have to go back and explain things that previously happened, we previously saw, but we didn't get all the pieces to the puzzle. I didn't like it. This is a very frustrating structure for a film to have, and I think it's almost becoming a cliche by this point. I feel like I have seen this structure before in other films, and it's quite strange because the film actually seems to be actively trying to avoid cliches, but by using other less frequently used cliches. Like there's a scene, for example, in which Anna Kendrick and Ben Affleck almost seem to be having a moment. They're sitting on a couch, having a casual conversation. There seems to be some sort of romantic interest, some romantic tension. They might kiss, but nope, false alarm. Ben Affleck starts talking babble again. And okay, so that was good because I could see that they tried to avoid like having the only female character in the film being a love interest. That was fine, but instead they used the awkward guy who can't really pick up signals, or when he does, he chickens out cliche instead. But I gotta give credit where credit is due, and I do think there are good things in this film. The acting is excellent. Everyone has their shining moment. Everyone has their moment when they have like some sort of emotional breakdown. Those moments I think are genuinely effective. J.K. Simmons is probably my favorite from the film. He has a moment like this as well, and it's good. And Ben Affleck. Now, apparently there are still people in this world who still say that Ben Affleck is a bad actor. And I have to ask those people, honestly, are you high? I mean, have you seen The Town? Have you seen Argo? Have you seen Batman fucking Superman? One of the worst fucking blockbusters ever made? Even in that piece of crap, Ben Affleck could manage with the material he was given to be quite a decent Batman, to say the least. So please, come on. Here he has to play an autistic person, someone with some significant difficulties when it comes to social interaction, non-verbal communication, with some very restricted and repetitive patterns in behavior and interest. And yeah, he pulls it off. I mean, he pulls it off perfectly. It's not a joke. His character is not a joke. It feels very real and very genuine. There are some comedic moments in the film due to him being so bizarre because of his disorder. But like I said, it's not a joke. It doesn't feel insulting in any way. So I guess that's it from me about The Accountant. I mean, unnecessarily convoluted for my tastes, but I liked the characters. I don't know if I would recommend it. It's like 50-50. If you're interested, you can check it out. It's not a bad film. It's quite a competent film, just not my cup of tea. Thanks for watching my review, folks. As always, I will see you later with other reviews. Until then, stay cool, stay awesome, keep on loving movies. Goodbye.